We're back. Another reaction video. This one a little bit late, but we wanted to put it out there. Mike Gesicki re-signs with the Bengals, 3-year deal, $25.5 million. Mitch, Bengals doing something they haven't done in 5 years, retaining a tight end for a second year, probably multiple years, given the structure of this contract. But we want to talk about the impact of this move. Obviously, it's not a groundbreaking move, but a lot of us play in 175, 2 PPR tight end leagues where you were probably not feeling great if he went to reportedly he was chasing money, which he got some money here, right? But then he goes to a team like, I don't know, think of a team where you're like, I'm not really sure about how he's going to be used. We know he's going to be a part-time tight end that basically operates as a receiver. So there's always going to be another tight end lurking with him. But are you happy if you have some Gesicki shares that he went back here, even if he's the third option?
I like it a lot for where his price is. I am very huge. People will hear me talk about this for the next 6 months. I want tight ends that are in good offenses. Like bad tight end or good tight ends and bad offenses are fine, but their ceiling is so capped because there's not a lot of touchdowns, those offenses. With the Bengals, you have to feel good every single week about all of their pass catchers. Will Gesicki score 10 touchdowns? No, he only had 2 the previous season, but he's going to have a chance every game to get a target in the red zone. And there's just other tight ends that don't fit that. And so if you're telling me what tight end do I like between tight end 13 and tight end 20, as far as where they ended up last year, I'm all about Gesicki at his price.
Yeah, I mean, here's some numbers on him per player profiler. So he had top 5 catchable target rate and target quality. So it kind of reflects that he's playing with a quarterback that's probably better suited for this type of option when he's not the lead option. He's at least in an offense where they can support 3 passing game weapons. Not many others can. But if you look at this, I mean, he was top 5 in slot snaps. He led the league in slot percentage, but only 46th in snap share. So he's only on the field part-time. 23rd in target rate. He was 25th in target share, but he was 12th in targets. So again, his target share doesn't have to be high, but the sheer number of pass attempts in the offense is good. So we know what he is. He's essentially a slot receiver that is benefiting by the fact that he has an elite quarterback and he has other receivers on his team that definitely will take away coverage from him. Let's take a look at the Trinity. And I want to highlight this. Well, let's go to his price first, Mitch. So he's tight end 31 on KTC. Now, this is probably not reflective of the impact of the demand of this signing, meaning he's going to be, people would probably rather have Gesicki over Luke Musgrave now, don't you think?
Yes.
Over Chiga Okonkwo, over Noah Gray, over, I don't know, Ben Sinnott. I mean, like, he's going to move around ahead of guys where you're like, oh, he's a usable player, so he's going to move above a bunch of these guys that are not usable players. But his price is still reasonable. If you were willing to pay any second, I think you could get him. And I want to point you to the Trinity last year when T. Higgins missed the games between week 8 and week 10. I mean, you could sell me on, we just talked Jacoby Myers the other night, right? This looks a lot like Jacoby Myers. I mean, they're kind of expected in a 2 PPR to give you the same type of production. So would you be sending offers? Would you just send a random 26 second in a start 10 2 PPR, or is that kind of a waste of a second unless you plan on starting them every week?
No, 2 PPR, I like that. So honestly, points per game wise, I see no difference between starting Gesicki and starting someone like Dalton Kincaid, starting someone like Kyle Pitts. Are their ceilings a little bit higher in theory? Yeah, but it pointed out all last year, average wise, they're going to average about the exact same amount of points weekly. And you're paying a third of the cost for a guy like Mike Gesicki, who I believe is in the better offense. And so I'm all about buying tight ends in this sort of thing. Like, everyone can go out and get their Tucker Crafts. That's fine. But give me the guy who's going to be with Joe Burrow 17 weeks out of the season for fantasy wise, as far as we care. And that's what I want.
Yeah, right here in those games, 15.5 points per game. I mean, Dalton Kincaid wasn't putting that up in 2 PPR. Kyle Pitts wasn't putting that up in 2 PPR. So I think the takeaway here is exactly what we've talked about. I don't necessarily want to pay a second for him in a start 10 because it kind of feels like I hope my roster isn't he's my starter already this early in the offseason. but it kind of feels like if we can go back real quick to KTC, the way to get Gesicki is go with, like, honestly, Mitch, if you have Luke Musgrave on your roster, do you even know what to do with him? He's just kind of like there.
Honestly,
right?
like he has value, but he's almost droppable because he's giving you nothing. But you know that you can't do it because at some point he can do something. But I mean, he's giving you 2-3 points a week if you're lucky.
Well, it's the same with Michael Mayer, right? Like the only reason you're holding him is so that he's traded. And then you have a trigger point to say, I can now use him in a trade. Just like if you have Musgrave, you're hoping for, Tucker Kraft misses a month. You know what I mean? You're hoping for something in the news that allows me to do something in that window of time with those types of players. So if there is anything like that, hell, I would move Michael Mayer today for Gesicki because people think Michael Mayer is going to get traded. And here's the thing, like you've seen what these tight end prices are out there. Like, I don't know if the Raiders just give away Michael Mayer for like a 6th round pick. If anything, they're better off just holding him as just a weapon on their offense for a couple more years than they would to trade him. So I'm not so sure that he just gets moved and he starts somewhere. So I think the key is if you can get Gesicki by using some of these guys in a deal so that you don't have to give up the pure value in the pick, that's the way to go about it. Any final comments or thoughts?
Let me ask you one real quick. Evan Ingram just got cut by the Jags. Would you take Evan Ingram or you want Mike Gesicki? Let's just say the only way you can do it is straight up. You can't get a plus in your league. The guy just won't do a plus.
I mean, the other name I was going to throw out there is Dallas Goedert. Like, why is he ahead of Mike Gesicki? To be honest, like, what's the difference? You know what I mean? They're both the same age. They're both tied to an offense where they're never going to be the top 2 options. You just see the name Dallas Goedert and you think, oh, he could be better than what he's been. But that was 5 years ago. You know what I mean? And Ingram, you're just hoping, he finds his Cincinnati. You know what I mean? Like he needs to find a situation like Gesicki is in. So the fact that you're even asking that question, I do think Ingram has a little more clout given he's been on a Hall of Fame track, but it's not a guarantee that he goes somewhere and we like it any better than where he's been. And Gesicki's situation, he's probably somewhere between tight end 10 and 20. And that's just what he is. And you're going to have spurts. I mean, if you're betting against Higgins in your portfolio, get some Gesicki. Because the Bengals may be dumb enough to screw it up where Gesicki is their wide receiver 2 for a lot of the season.
It could happen,
like,
without a doubt.
Like, are you kidding me? Like, I didn't expect this guy to get this much work, but they don't have anybody else. So, yeah, man, I think it's a fascinating one. It's just a random tight end signing, but I think the cascading effect and really having the discussion of these types of tight ends and how volatile they are in this range is huge. I mean, we talked about Ben Sinnott. Like, he's basically dead now that Ertz re-signed. And Gesicki's back to life. So there you go. More of these coming. An Aaron Jones video will come later at some point tonight. Destination Chill probably tonight with Ray. I still have to confirm that we're actually going to be going live, but that'll be a couple hours. And then obviously, Mitch, more from you and I as we start the legal tampering period tomorrow. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.